Well, I would tell them what I tell my daughters. I always say, three words: know your worth. But first and foremost, know your worth. I raised my daughters as if they were queens. You know what I mean?
Mm,
I raised them as my princesses. If I consider myself a king, I have to raise my children as my prince and my princesses, right? And I got daughters, right? So I look at my daughters as my princesses. So I go on daddy daughter dates with them. I went on a daddy daughter date with my youngest, who's 23 years old, last week, and I on that date I show them how a man should treat a woman. So if I'm
yes,
talking
sir.
to a group of young ladies, I understand what's out there in society. I understand what people look at and see what gets attention. And it's not just for women, it's a lot of things. You see things on the internet and how to go viral and all that stuff like that. We live in that reality world, but also teach them, hey, you know what? There's consequences to your actions sometimes when you put
Mm,
certain things out there.
right.
Look, when they're teenagers, when they're young, when they're in high school, I had issues with my daughters or whatever. You have to try and mold them. It starts at home. They get a lot of influence when they go to school. They
Mm,
get a lot of influence when they're around their other friends or whatever. Especially with social media being what it is, and they start getting a little famous because they're on social media. They look at how many followers
right.
they got. They look at what sells or whatever. They look at, the little butt shots they do and all that type of stuff
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
But I always emphasize it ain't about your body, but it's
Mhm.
about your mind. What
Yes,
is
sir.
up
Yes,
here,
sir.
man? If you're leading with what's down there, then how far is that going to eventually take you?
No,
And
sir.
be attracted to, and what are you going to attract? So if you
Mm,
lead with your mind and have people respecting your mind and what you have upstairs,
mm,
then everything else will be appreciated downstairs, because they'll know that, hey, you're a lady, you're not just somebody that's out
mm,
here doing wild stuff. And look,
mm,
I'm not trying to shame or
mm, mm.
anybody that might be promiscuous and all that type of stuff like that. That ain't my job. I can only look at what I teach my daughters,
That's
and at
right.
the end of the day, they still have to have their own decision making
Mm,
process about what they want to do with their mind, their body, and their soul as well. But
mm.
all I can do is try and mold them and teach them along with their moms. Hey, this is what you're worth.